second thought, maybe scrambled would be better.
I'm sorry, Alice.
Oh, it's all right.
I'm in high school now, and when you're in high school, you're not a kid anymore. You're a man.
Oh?
And a man doesn't want to be pestered by kids. Yeah, Dad.
What happened to you?
I was just shaving. I got a couple...
What would you say if I told you the Brady Bunch almost looked completely different? And I don't just mean the kids' hairstyles. Imagine nearly every main role being cast another way, abrupt firings, and even singing voices swapped out. Yep, the cheerful family on your screen was built on some surprising behind-the-scenes compromises. Stick around as we count down 15 weird truths that completely rewrite the story of this so-called perfect family. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Number 1, the ratings lie. Everyone talks about the Brady Bunch like it was this unstoppable TV giant, but here's the twist. It really wasn't. In fact, during its original run, the show never once landed in the Nielsen Top 30. For a classic, that might sound shocking. It means that while families certainly watched, it wasn't exactly dominating living rooms across America. What makes this even stranger is how it exploded after cancellation. Reruns turned it into must-see viewing for kids getting home from school. That's when catchphrases, characters, and storylines became cemented in pop culture. Number 2, the staircase to nowhere. When you picture the Brady house, what pops up first? That wide, eye-catching staircase right in the living room. On screen, it looked like the heart of the home, always ready to carry kids up to their bedrooms. But here's the catch. It didn't lead anywhere at all. The illusion worked so well that audiences never questioned it. That unfinished staircase helped sell the fantasy of a perfect suburban home inside a Hollywood soundstage. Number 3, Carol was nearly Greg's peer. When we saw Carol Brady on screen, she came across like the picture of a wise mom guiding her kids through every little problem. It seemed natural to believe she was comfortably older than the children she was raising. But in real life, Florence Henderson was only 12 years older than Barry Williams, the actor playing her son Greg. The difference vanished thanks to clever makeup, wardrobe choices, and the simple fact that audiences wanted to accept the illusion. Most people never guessed how close the two really were in age. That thin gap shows how motherly wisdom on television wasn't always about experience. It was often about casting and presentation, part of the larger fantasy that family sitcoms created. Number 4, Robert Reed's clash with control. Mike Brady looked like the picture of calm, fatherly wisdom, but Robert Reed was anything but calm off camera. He struggled with the show's light tone and often argued with producers about how stories were written. Reed wanted the series to deal with issues in a believable way, while creator Sherwood Schwartz cared more about keeping it easygoing and family-friendly. Reed went so far as to leave long memos on scripts, picking apart storylines he thought were silly or unrealistic. For him, consistency and authenticity mattered, even in a sitcom. That constant friction contrasted sharply with the polished dad audiences saw each week. And as the disputes grew, they eventually set the stage for Reed's striking absence in later episodes. Number 5, Alice actually moved in. Alice always felt like more than a housekeeper on screen. She was part of the Brady family. But here's where it gets surprising. Ann B. Davis, who played her, actually chose to live with the cast during certain filming periods. Instead of keeping her distance, she embraced a living setup that blurred work life and personal life. Some say it was out of simplicity, no long commute, no distractions, while others believe it reflected just how close she felt to the group. Over time, the lines between sitcom family and real companionship grew thinner. Imagine finishing a long day shooting as Alice and then going home to the Bradys. It made the television household feel oddly authentic away from the cameras too. Number 6, when Marcia loved Greg. On screen, Marcia and Greg Brady played out the picture-perfect sibling bond, but away from the cameras, things got much more complicated. Maureen McCormick admitted she had a crush on Barry Williams, and the two actually dated for a short time during the height of the show. Their chemistry spilled into moments on set, like the stories of them sneaking kisses while filming in Hawaii. For the producers, teenage romance wasn't exactly ideal, so the crew often kept a close eye to make sure things didn't interfere with production. Number 7, the sad fate of Tiger. Every great TV family seemed to need a dog, and for the Bradys, that role belonged to Tiger. He was the lovable pet who rounded out the image of a wholesome household. But shortly after filming began, tragedy struck. Tiger was hit by a car and killed, leaving the production in shock. Producers quickly found a look-alike, but the new dog wasn't trained and struggled to follow even basic cues. Instead of lively scenes, Tiger was often shown frozen in place, his collar literally nailed to the floor to keep him still. Audiences never noticed, but that wasn't the same dog they first adored. Number 8, singing Brady kids. Did you ever notice the theme song sounded different once season 2 rolled around? That's because the producers swapped out professional singers and handed the job to the Brady kids themselves. Suddenly, the voices introducing the family each week were the same ones acting out the stories. It gave the show a more personal feel, but not every kid had natural singing talent. Christopher Knight even admitted his voice wasn't strong, which often led to awkward dubbing in later musical projects. Number 9, Cindy's Season 1 wig. Everyone remembers Cindy Brady with those famous little blonde curls, right? In Season 1, though, there was something fans never realized. That hair wasn't hers at all. Susan Olsen had actually damaged her own hair from bleaching treatments before the show began, so producers fitted her with a wig for the entire first season. It wasn't just to cover up the fragile strands. The curls also had to line up neatly with the family's carefully coordinated look. So those bouncing curls we all thought were iconic were really just studio styling. Number 10, no goodbye ending. Most long-running shows usually get a big send-off, something that ties everything together for fans. But when it came to the Brady Bunch, that never happened. In 1974, ABC canceled the series suddenly, without preparing a proper series finale. One week, the Bradys were just living their everyday lives, and the next, the show was simply gone. For viewers, it felt unfinished. There was no wedding, no final gathering, no real sense of closure for characters people had followed for years. The Brady Bunch ended with a quiet stop, reminding us how network decisions could cut through even the happiest-looking stories. Number 11, Carol by Day, Vegas by Night. On television, Carol Brady looked like the definition of a steady mom, handling her 6 kids with patience and grace. But Florence Henderson's real life during the show couldn't have been more different, because she had another job waiting for her the moment the cameras stopped rolling. Between tapings, Henderson flew to Las Vegas, where she performed in glamorous stage shows at night. The schedule must have been exhausting, yet she never let it show. Audiences saw a calm homemaker, not a performer balancing 2 worlds at once. Number 12, almost recasting January. Jan Brady was always the classic middle child, the one stuck between the oldest and the youngest, and fans loved her for that. But behind the scenes, Eve Plum's role almost slipped away when producers planned The Brady Brides. She didn't want to continue in the spin-off, and that decision nearly cost her spot in the Brady family altogether. Networks cared more about keeping the brand going than holding on to the same faces, so they strongly considered recasting Jan with another actress. It stirred tension between the business side and the performers who had carried those roles for years. Number 13, When Dad Walked Away. When fans tuned in for the final episode of The Brady Bunch, something felt off right away. Where was Dad? Robert Reed, who had been the steady presence of Mike Brady through the entire series, was nowhere to be seen. The reason wasn't a scheduling conflict or illness. Reed flat out refused to appear after clashing with producers over the script. His perfectionism had always made him a tough critic, but this time his frustration boiled over, and he chose to sit it out completely. Number 14, Brady Kids as a touring band. Imagine your favorite TV kids suddenly stepping off the soundstage and onto a concert stage. That's exactly what happened when the Brady children were packaged as a singing group, recording an entire album and even heading out on tour. The idea sounded exciting, but not all of the kids actually wanted to perform. Some had voices that weren't strong enough, which meant certain parts had to be dubbed or supported to keep the sound even. Number 15, The Brady House Lives On. When you think of the Brady Bunch, one image instantly pops up: That familiar suburban home with its slanted roof and stone front. What many viewers don't realize is that the house we saw in those quick exterior shots is a real property located in Studio City, California, and it's still standing today. The Brady Bunch looked like the most flawless family on television, but behind the smiles were constant battles, awkward secrets, and even tragedy. From script disputes and sudden cast tensions, to pets that vanished and kids pushed into unwanted fame, the show's perfect image masks something very different. What makes it fascinating is that all those cracks never ruined its charm. Maybe that's the real reason it still matters. The Bradys weren't lasting icons because they were perfect. They lasted because they weren't. And it makes you wonder, how many other perfect TV families were hiding stories just like these?